Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. This episode of Welcome Home is brought to you by DVC Resale Market. Thank you for joining us on episode 308 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, here with Trevor. How's it going, Trevor?
Hey, I'm doing all right.
So see, we're laughing already because I screwed up the opening and Trevor wants me to leave it in.
I think, okay. You know what? I'm going to say it here. Put it on Discord. So for the Patreon people, they can hear the opening on Discord.
Just hear how bad it was.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
All right. Well, yeah. So anyway, I screwed up the opening, but it's okay. That happens. Like, listen, there are. This actually segues nicely into talking about what I did yesterday. Because
all right.
I'm still tired from yesterday.
Really?
Oh my God, man. Okay, so I talked about this on the show. Was it last week, maybe, or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. I think it was. I think you mentioned it last week that you were going to Carowinds, right?
Carowinds, yes. So, for those that didn't listen to last week and are listening to this week, Carowinds, or don't know what Carowinds is, which I don't expect everybody to know every regional amusement park, right? So Carowinds is it's an amusement park. You know, it's Six Flags. Well, it was Cedar Fair, but Cedar Fair and Six Flags are now one gigantic entity of theme parks, and so everything is Six Flags now, unless it's like Dollywood or that other group of things. But anyway, there's less exceptions now than there is. Yes.
Yeah, and Carowinds is like generic theme park. Yes. Basically, right? Yeah. So it's generic theme park, and listen, it's a very cool park because first of all, it actually straddles the line between North and South Carolina. So sometimes when you're on one side of the park, you're in North Carolina, and then other times you're in South Carolina, and there's actually like a little sign that tells you where you are, right? Which, I mean, listen, it's a novelty, but it is kind of funny. Yeah, that's funny. That would be a weird thing in a theme park for sure.
Carowinds is also known for Fury 325, which is consistently a top roller coaster. Also, though, last year, I think it was last year,
that was the one that the support on it broke.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people probably know for Fury 325 from, is that last year there was some video of the track separating from the pylon supporting it, and I think that went pretty viral at the time. So, but anyway. That is like their flagship coaster, and I mean, if you go look at coaster ratings, it is a very highly rated coaster. It's 325 feet tall and goes like 100 miles per hour. It's a pretty incredible looking roller coaster, and obviously we didn't do that. We were there for my daughter, right? So
I was gonna say, you didn't ride it though. I know
that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. But it was 90 degrees out yesterday though, and I listen, I don't. Let me translate that for our friends.
I can figure it out.
So it was 32
to go. Okay, yeah. So that's a hot day. Yeah.
It was hot. It was humid. And the nice thing though about Carowinds, I will say, so first of all, they don't open until 10 a.m. So it's not like Disney where you have to wake yourself up early and get yourself out, and get yourself together. I mean, like I got an oil. It's more like in the morning until they got there.
Yeah. It's more like an Epcot day than a Magic Kingdom day is what I would compare it to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we got there like a little bit before 10. Part of the reason why we were going is we when I was a kid, and I don't know, Trevor, I don't remember if you mentioned this or not, but when I was a kid, I lived pretty close to Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, which also was known for the ride King Ka, which was at one point the fastest, tallest roller coaster in the world. They recently imploded that though, and it doesn't exist anymore. So, but I used to, when I was a kid, we would have season passes, and you would just summertime, you just pop in for an afternoon for a couple hours, right? Mm-hmm. Especially like if it rained in the morning. Please, rains in the morning, park is dead at the end of the day. Like literally not a single, there's nobody there. You can walk on every ride. So, I kind of always wanted to do that with Carowinds. It's only a half hour from me. It's a nice park, but I never take my daughter, right? So this is our first trip taking my daughter there. And we also try to explain to her, like, listen, this isn't going to be the same as Disney, right? Like this is different. Okay. This is, they have rides and stuff, but it's not the same thing. And I was like, it's more Legoland than it is Disney. Like, let's, we'll go.
Yeah, that's a fair comparison. It's not as nearly themed and detailed and all that.
Exactly. Like, as nice as the Peppa Pig land is at Legoland, I mean, it's pretty much what a Six Flags would do with Peppa Pig, right? They took off the shelf rides, they printed out a couple poster boards that have Peppa Pig stuff on them, and boom, it's a Peppa Pig ride. You know what I mean? And like, that's typically what they do at these parks, and what they did at Carowinds. Now, that being said, their kids area is themed to Charlie Brown, which I don't know if Charlie Brown's really relevant to children anymore. My daughter knows who Snoopy is, but she knows nothing outside of that.
There was a Charlie Brown movie back when my son was younger.
That's right. They did like a animated movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's not completely irrelevant, but definitely not like in the current lexicon.
Not a top tier property
of kid shows. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But it's not. Sure. Like people know what Charlie
Snoopy.
Brown is. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you know Snoopy, right? Like everyone knows Snoopy, right? So they have a new roller coaster there that is actually it's a kid's coaster. First of all, Carowinds. Amazing for the fact that they have like 4 kid coasters, which is like crazy.
It's smart.
Yeah, they have a lot of kids.
Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I was just like, wow, I think it's maybe 3. I might have exaggerated and said 4. I think it's 3. Anyway, so they have a new one that just opened. It's a multi-launch coaster, right? But nothing more than like a Slinky Dog kind of thing, right? It goes like 0 to like 30 miles per hour. And so we went there first. We rope dropped that because it was going to be it was just opened 2 weeks ago, right? It's brand spanking new, right? And but we only waited like 15 minutes, right? So that was fine, and that was a lot of fun. It's a very cool ride. It's well done. Again, though, the theming is sparse but fine.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching the video. It's a coaster.
Yeah, it's a fun little coaster, honestly, and my daughter had a great time on it, right? Well, they also, the whole land is nice. It's well done. They're also building this boat ride too. We talked about the boat ride too. It's the same one that's at Legoland. It's the same one it's going to be at that's at Isle of Berk, right? At Epic. It's meaning like the same kind of ride system. It's just a raft. It's got water guns on it. You shoot people and targets and stuff. That is not even close to open. So that they've been advertising that this is going to be open for 2025. And we walked and we saw it. You could just, it's not like Disney. They don't put up like real walls. It's just like a fence there. So like I'm watching the construction workers work on this and I'm like, dude, this isn't even like a month away. This is 3 months at least. Like they are far away, which is stupid because you want to have it for the summertime. Like you want a water ride ready for the, 95-degree heat that's here. But, regardless. Yeah, but anyway,
timing and budget is you can't always avoid
I get it. But a lot of the kids' coasters are like old, like really old, right? So like one of the kids' coasters is, I mean, I don't even know how old, but it looks like they took one from a county fair and just like made it permanent. You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of deals.
Our local place did that too, where they designated a county fair coaster as the kids' coaster next to the big proper coaster that they had.
Exactly. Now, the one thing they do have there, which I think I mentioned this last week, was they have a kids wooden coaster, which I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else before, except for maybe Legoland. Legoland does have a kids wooden coaster, which I did not go on. I wanted to. However, the ride before that, we went on this thing. It's like I don't even know how to describe this. It's like it's like the Music Express or the Himalaya, right? Like it kind of follows that kind of same circuit, but
is it Gyroforce?
No, it's oh gosh, you're looking at all the rides at Carowinds right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to help you out.
I appreciate that. No, so it's kind of like that, but instead of having like
roller.
No, so that is the Himalaya ride that they have.
Oh. Okay.
This one, it's individual cars, and you're sitting in it's like a boat. It looks like a boat, but you're not in water. But it's following that same kind of thing. Wait, here it is: Peanuts Pirates. Okay, Peanuts Pirates is what it's called.
Okay,
so this thing looks, tame and all, right? Like it spins in a circle. It does like the up and down thing, but in the middle of it, the thing turns. Like each individual ship turns forward or backwards. Well, which is fine. It was lots of fun. But it destroyed my back. Just destroyed my absolutely. That was the second thing we did, and I was immediately like, "Oh God, I can't do this anymore." And of course, because my daughter, has my number, I of course went on a second time with her because she really wanted to go again, and I was like, "All right, fine." And of course, the cars are not made adult size. you know? So I'm just like squished in there. But listen, it was fun. I just, it didn't start the day out great because I, end up hurting my back. But anyway, so, we went around. There's lots of little kids rides. They have like a version of the whip. But again, it looked exactly like one we saw at the fair last year. And they had like the typical stuff. Like they had like the Dumbo type ride, but it's, planes instead. Right. And
Snoopy versus Red Baron. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You want to know what made me the maddest about this, Trevor? And I don't know if this is a new trend in theme parks or maybe they're just doing this in the kids area. And I mean, I don't know, maybe whatever it is, but they had some games, right? They had the game, like the typical games, you throw
games,
carnival games. You throw the ball through the basket, you get a prize. They had a duck game where, there's ducks going around in water. You pick up the ducks, you match the colors, you get a prize. The thing is, there's no skill involved in these because what you do, the price you pay determines what size stuffed animal you get. Like, so like no matter what, the kid wins. And you just have to determine what size stuffed animal they want. So it's like you pay $10 for a small, $12 for a medium, and $20 for a large, and that's it. Like you predetermined what you're getting, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." I was mad about it.
Okay.
I know for kids.
I'm gonna devil's advocate this for a second.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because I get if you look at the current climate of how people behave.
Sure.
I can see, from a management standpoint, if there's somebody that sucks at games in general, and they're
yelling that they're depriving their child.
Yeah. So exactly. So you get these situations where there's somebody that, you're just bad at carnival games, or your kid, your kid doesn't understand it or whatever. Like that happens. And that happened all the time when I was growing up is, yes, you lose at carnival games, but if the parents are coming in arguing with the management too much, that, I spent, I spent $15 or $20 and my kid didn't get anything, you guys are ripping us off. They probably looked at it and went, okay, well, instead of, this way, the kid still gets to play the game, but they get, it's basically giving them a participation trophy, which
it is.
I do not agree with this. I'm just arguing for the sake of this is probably why they did it. And it sucks, but I feel like, actually winning your prize would be a lot better because I know when I was a kid, that made me want to get, I was learning to play those games. I wasn't just like, I threw the ball and I don't care where it lands. It's like, no, I want the red cup. Like,
better.
Yeah, exactly. Like it motivates you. So
now, David, I do think this was only the kids area, and I do understand that point of view. It just annoyed me because I walk up there and I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, so wait a second.
You're just paying for the plushie and you get to play a game on the side.
I'm buying a tiny little stuffed animal for $10 that I could buy in the gift shop. And my daughter's going to play this game.
Your kid plays a game. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, the best part was my daughter just had to do the duck game, where you pick up the ducks and match the colors. And she immediately matched 2 colors. She picked up 2 ducks.
Good.
So 2 ducks, $10. Great. Anyway. Oh gosh, what else? Okay. I had a couple things on Carowinds. So the other thing was, I talked about this in the Discord, dude. So everyone always complains about Disney being expensive, right? Like, Disney's so expensive, blah, 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 blah. I go to get a quick service meal, like 4 of us, I spent, $60, whatever. All right. So I just popped my head into one of like the food stands and I happened to see a chicken finger basket, right? 2 chicken fingers and a bunch of fries. $17, Trevor. $17 for 2 chicken fingers and fries. Not even a drink.
2 chicken fingers.
Yeah, 2 chicken fingers and fries. And I was like, are you kidding? Because listen, Disney is expensive, but I was just there. I mean, we did quick service and it's like $12, $13, at the most. And at least the food is good. This food was terrible. It was literally the worst food I think I've ever had anywhere. It was so bad.
Yeah, that's theme park food.
I know, but dude, at least, be somewhat decent, for that much money.
I've had bad theme park food too. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. And yeah, dude, there is there is a low bar of entry to what classifies as food.
I mean, I just like, if I'm going to pay that kind of money, like I want it to at least taste like something,
It's true.
But yeah, listen, it is what it is. I haven't been to like a regular non-Disney theme park in a long time. So, and I feel like whenever you do these things, it always gives you more of an appreciation for the way that Disney does things and goes about things, like you just always get just even like little things like, of course, like the detail stuff, of course, but also just like the customer service piece and like, the food and all of that kind of stuff. You remember the differences when you go to a place like that,
Yeah.
But
sorry, continue your thought. I'm just bringing up the menu at Cosmic Rays to see how much chicken fingers are there.
Yeah, find it. It's not $17, I don't think.
Okay. So for the kids meals,
yeah,
they don't have chicken or no. Oh no, here we go. Kids chicken strips, two strips served with 2 sides and a choice of small low fat milk or bottled water. $8.49.
Yeah. Now listen,
you paid $17.
$17, and that didn't even include the drinks.
And you just got fries on the side. You didn't even get to pick your.
No, it's just fries. Yeah.
Because the sides are always like you can choose like oranges or.
Oh no, there was no choices. Please. Now, what I will say, Trevor, is something I did like that they had a thing, and you were just talking about this with Universal, and I do like this. They had drink stands everywhere, and what you could do is you could buy a refillable cup. And you could either do a season-long one, and it was like $35 free refills for the entire season, or you could do a daily one, and it was like $18 free refills all that day. And then when you come back, you can pay $7 and get free refills that whole day. That's great. I love that.
So much better, isn't it? Like it's such a better system than what Disney's doing.
I mean, I'm sure there's a reason why they wouldn't do it, because you'd think they'd want to do it because it would probably make them a lot of money. And I mean, they do it at the resorts, but why? There's probably a reason why they have not brought that to the parks. I don't know why.
I can tell you at Universal, all of the rides had dump stations where you could dump out your refillable cups, because the thing that Disney would have to figure out on this is, so Universal, they have the lockers where you would put your refillable mug, right? So they don't have to worry about being on the ride. The problem is at Disney, you got refillable mugs, and then you got people who are on rides who, they will tell people all day long not to eat or drink on the rides, but there will always be people that doing that, right? Or, somebody dumping their cup into Pirates of the Caribbean, or trying to fill up their cup in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Weirdos. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I see where logistically, it's a great thing on the surface, but there is some back end logistic stuff that needs to happen if Disney's going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And they also have like meal plans and stuff. But again, I'm not paying for a meal plan for garbage food. Maybe there's better food somewhere there, but
there's a dining plan. I'm like, what do you...
They have an in-park dining plan where you can pay and have unlimited food all day.
I mean, hey, there's Panda Express.
There is Panda Express there, and there's a couple different chains there too. Yeah, so they do have some chains within the park, which is interesting. But anyway, listen, maybe I just need to find better food there, but
again, no, it's good that you got some perspective on it, because I think it's good for us to all remember that, as much as we get into the mode of like, not hating on Disney, but criticizing stuff Disney does. This doesn't mean that everything Disney does is perfect, but it means it could be worse, right?
yeah, exactly. Let's see. Last thoughts on this. So we actually had decided we were able to upgrade our day passes to season pass.
Season passes, because their season passes are only like $100.
They're cheap, man. Yeah, that's the thing.
Like than a day at Disney.
Well, even that, but like the paying for parking was $35. $35, right? So like, but then if I get an annual pass or a season pass, I keep saying annual pass because I'm used to Disney. Free parking, right? So like it pays for itself, like right there, pretty much. So like, it's like really, if you go like more than twice in a season, usually a season's pass pays for itself at a local theme park. Exactly.
That's what I found, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So so I did that, and that process was another place where we see some gaps in the customer service. There was gigantic lines to do the same thing that I wanted to do, and there was one person working. Which, not not great.
I feel bad for that person that has to do,
do.
parking. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Well, this was for the upgrade. This was for just to do the upgrade at
this wasn't for the parking. This was just the person at the ticket booth. Yeah,
this is at guest services.
Oh,
dude. But anyway, yeah. So listen, I had a good time, and it'll be nice to fill in the gaps, with that. I'm looking forward to doing some like afternoon trips and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, we had a good time. Like I said, it's a nice park. It's well maintained. It's kept pretty clean. They have some really cool old rides there. And the people were mostly nice, but you always run into one person here or there, but yeah.
And for the food situation, like when when my son was your daughter's age, we were doing the same thing. We were hitting up the local amusement park, and we didn't go a lot because I think we only went for like one season because our son kind of looked at it and was like, I'd rather just wait and go to Disney, is what he actually told us at that point. But when we were going, though, we figured out, for the food thing, we actually would just pack a lunch in a cooler and take that instead because I assume, if Carowinds is anything like the theme park near us, they didn't care, and even like Disney, they don't care if you bring your own food in. So
they actually don't let you bring your own food into Carowinds.
Oh, really?
That's a Six Flags policy. So because we looked it up ahead of time, they don't let you bring food in. Although, listen, they weren't checking bags. You could have brought in anything, pretty much.
I mean, because the thing is, like, I've seen people walking around Disney with coolers before. I'm surprised that Six Flags is so.
Yeah,
but I guess that's because they're clearly trying to sell this stellar food.
They're probably, well, see, I think this is really why that there's a difference, right? Is because I guarantee you Carowinds / Six Flags is far more reliant on making a profit through food than Disney. Plus, Disney can buy it bulk a lot easier and absorb any of the inflation from that stuff a lot easier because of how large they are, just simply how large they are. I know Six Flags is large, but like, it's Disney's just a gigantic entity, right? I mean, I don't know.
It's a level of scale different than.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, yeah, I think that's probably plays into it. And I think, it just is one of those things where they need the profit from it more than Disney does, but who knows? I could be wrong.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah. I think it just sounds like you have to go and investigate or figure out what the best options are. Cause the chicken fingers are not it sounds like.
They also, by the way, they have like their own version of Fast Pass too, which is completely and totally unnecessary because every ride is like under 15 minutes. Like, it's
but it's a Fast Pass.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I had to laugh about it because it's more expensive than the tickets. It's like Universal. It's pricey, right? Yeah. So like it starts at $75 a pop, right? But like, yeah. But we're walking around. I mean, we didn't wait longer than 15 minutes for anything. And even like Fury 325 had like a 15-minute wait, right? Like it's not not like Disney,
You were there on a Saturday too.
Yeah, exactly. I was there, on a busier day. Well, what should be a busier day, you'd think,
a weekend. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. So anyway, I had a good time there, but let's talk DVC, Trevor. Let's talk about DVC.
Yeah, let's move over to DVC. Okay.
I'm interested in this. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this.
All right, so let's start by prefacing this. So DVC has updated their rules and regulations around renting. And correct me if I'm going to paraphrase this. I'm not going to quote it directly, but basically what they're saying is that when you rent something, you agree that you are renting it for yourself, or when you're renting out points on a contract, that it's for personal use and not for commercial purposes. Basically, what they're alluding to is that there are entities out there that rent points out as, in bulk, and it's owned by a company, and that's against the rules of DVC. So it sounds like this update to their rules is that Disney is aware of the fact that there are some people out there that have bought up multiple contracts for the purpose just of renting, because really if you set it up right, you can rent out a contract and it pays for the dues and you have money left over on top, which, I can see where it becomes an appealing business, right? It's You're basically just a middleman for renting out hotel rooms to people, and you collect money. So I get why Disney is revising this, and it's probably also coming from, so this is an assumption. I don't have any hard data on this, and if anybody, if you want to come for us on this, we're not like super into the accounting side of this, but I assume that based on just what I've seen from people commenting on various social media platforms, is there has been a perception of getting certain reservations, getting rooms in particular areas seems overly difficult, and people are asking the question if there's no way that all of these, that everybody is renting out points for specifically like this 1 week, right? Like it seems like there's another level going on there of somebody is playing games. And just to also give context to this isn't going after people like or so like DVC Rental Store or David's Rentals, which are two of the bigger DVC rental sites. Those sites are set up as brokers, so they're not the ones actually renting the points. They're a broker working on behalf of people who want to rent out points and then connecting them with people that want to rent the points, right? So this is targeting, it sounds like, more, you've got somebody who has bought up a bunch of contracts under, a corporate entity, and they're renting it out as like a vacation something. I guess, would it be like a time? Yeah, I guess like a timeshare. Like, yeah.
I what I think is interesting about this to me is that it's like members have been complaining about this for years, right? Like and a lot of people will say that the perceived abuse of the rental market or commercial renters is what causes limited availability, right? Yes. For like reservations. That might be true, but I don't know if it's true. Like I really don't.
It's hard to see because we don't have Disney's visibility into who's actually renting out these properties, right?
Yeah, and so to me, like I don't even know if DVC actually knows if that's the problem or not, right? But
I mean, they can look at just contract ownership, and
they could, yeah.
If somebody has like 30 or 40 contracts, like it's got to be weird.
I mean, yeah, right? I mean, probably, yeah. But at the same time, they're probably like, yeah, buy more contracts, right? I mean, but I guess what I'm saying is that this is great that they're doing this, right? And listen, there's a checkbox now at the end here too, that when you book a reservation that says you agree to the terms and conditions, and you attest that this reservation is for personal use only. I guess my problem with this is that I feel like they're doing it really to placate people more than to actually stop the practice. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is it's like you can make an argument for anything being personal use, right? Like it's where do you draw the line of, this is commercial use or this is personal use? I mean, I you know what I mean? I guess if all you're doing is use, how do you tell, I guess is the question, right? But and I saw a lot of people on Discord talking about this, like, well, if you haven't booked a reservation for yourself in 5 years or whatever, right? Well, maybe those commercial people could just start booking a reservation for themselves every month for a week. I mean, every year for a week. And then, they get around it. Like, I guess the question is what constitutes abuse, right? Like we should be able to rent out our points if we want to. We own the points. We should be able to rent them out. And they're not stopping that. They don't have a problem with that. And no one, I don't really think, does have a problem with that, they said here too, they actually tried to clarify this and said, personal use may include enjoying the benefits of a DVC membership with family or allowing any reserved vacation home to friends and family on occasion. Additionally, but like, what does occasion mean? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, it's very broad. And then additionally, personal use means that the member does not regularly or frequently rent, sell reservations booked using their membership. But again, like, what is frequently, it's open to a lot of interpretation, which is why I don't feel like it's like a hard and fast thing. It feels very just kind of like we're trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like you're right in that. Yeah, it seems like it could be very loose. But like I said, Disney, they have all the booking information on their back end. They can definitely do some correlation between you can figure out patterns of how people are using their contracts. So,
but I guess the question is, Trevor, what's to stop somebody from just doing what Walt Disney did when he bought all the land up in Florida, and starting a bunch of random LLCs that are just ghost companies and buying one contract with those, and then there's no way they're going to be able to figure that out. You know what I mean? Like,
right. But again, that's where, if the behavior of these LLCs is that they're never actually using it for themselves, or it's, again, there are patterns that can be drawn between it. And also, I don't know actually if this is true or not, but I thought that when you bought a contract, like I thought you had to provide like an owner's name. It couldn't just be like a company name. Like I thought somebody's like actual name had to be on there. So that means that unless you're making a bunch of fake IDs to like to buy up contracts, but then that's a whole other thing, right?
I know. I'm pretty sure you can buy it up with an LLC. Yeah, I actually just Googled this. Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So a DVC deed can be titled to the name of an LLC.
Well, then again, I guess if somebody wants to go through all that work to do that, then
yeah. I mean, but if that's your business, you're gonna do that, right? Like you're gonna find a way around this.
But the thing is that at this point though, anybody who has been doing that, they're certainly not following that, making a bunch of ghost companies. They're all going to be under a single LLC, and they even they did bring it up also at the 2024 Condo Association meeting.
They did, yeah.
They said, we're reviewing owners who seem to own a large number of points just to make profit. DVC is actively figuring out ways to go after that and stop that to the best of our ability. So again, back to the point of, Disney's rewarding this stuff. So, it seems like, they're just giving themselves the blanket ability to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably the case right now, but this is setting themselves up so that, because this becomes a legal thing, right? If they're going after people saying, hey, you can't, do rentals anymore, people who are doing it will immediately come back and go, well, where does it say we can't do that? Right. So changing this wording is giving them the umbrella to say,
legal coverage.
we can actually do this as part of your contract. And the thing about it is that it doesn't hurt the vast majority of people who are using DVC, because we are all using it for personal use, or, like they said, for the occasional renting out of points and stuff like that, or booking stuff for family members. So,
yeah.
So I can't imagine how this is going to impact, the majority of us. Like I said, unless you're somebody that, like they said, somebody that has a large number of points, but it's very clear. Like if you got a ton of points and you've not actually been to Disney in like 5 years, like, I mean, that's red flag number one.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I listen. These are good steps. I just wonder how effective it's actually going to be, and if they're actually going to do anything, or if it's just really just like, look, we're trying. You know what I mean?
I feel the thing about this too is that this is on the surface, and we're going to see this for the people who this is targeting. You're not going to hear about it in any kind of public space.
No.
If somebody who's renting out points wants to make a big deal about it, they can try, but we all know how that's going to go, because if you suddenly come around and say, hey, it's not fair, I've been renting out my points to make money for the last 5 years, people will come for you online, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So the thing about it is that it's probably going to push those people who are abusing rentals into a place where they have to decide if they want to figure out more loopholes to keep this going, or it'll push them far enough that they'll go, it's not worth it, we'll go look at other things to rent out, different timeshares or whatever. It just kills DVC as an avenue for revenue for them, right? So
yeah. Well, listen, it's we'll have to see how this shakes out. It's really hard to really know what's actually going to happen, right?
Yeah, like I said, I feel like I'm not going to care about this, because I'm never going to have enough points to care about it. So there's that. And yeah, I'll be curious if any more news comes of it, but like I said, I feel like this is just them setting up to do some stuff behind the scenes. So
yeah, No, that totally makes sense. Well, I mean, we're gonna, like I said, we'll see how it shakes out. But I mean, the vast majority of members, But here's the other thing, Trevor. I don't really truly believe that them cracking down on this is going to make availability better. I just don't. Like, I just don't think it's going to help.
That's a fair statement, but I guess the interesting thing is that so there are those times of year that it's just like you're never going to get what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
At Disney. The thing that I'm wondering though is it's probably not going to make those kinds of scenarios better. Like how Disney does their points and whatever is tuned at. There are popular times when people go. I don't think you're going to see a change there. I'm wondering though, if outside of there, you may start hearing more stories of, people going like, hey, I got a wait list at the Grand Cali, or I got a wait list at, Boardwalk or something like that. I'm wondering if maybe you'll start hearing more of like waitlist stuff coming through, and not necessarily, that all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything's available everywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I don't know if renting is fully the problem. I mean, there's just only so many rooms and there's so much demand. I mean, it is what it is. But
and again, certain resorts, I think there are certain resorts that are just, they're at capacity and there's nothing you can do about
it. I would agree with that. All right, so
let's talk about the sad thing in the room. That okay. I know you don't go on social media very much, but I've been on Facebook, and it's funny that, for so many months, I've not, Muppets has not been on my radar for a long time. And this last week, I have seen so many people posting about Muppet Vision 3D.
Because it closed this past week, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone getting like their last moments and stuff, which, it's very... not to say that I hate seeing it. It's just, it's funny how, like, every time an attraction closes, this is what happens, right? There is the hype, that last like hype around like, oh my gosh, this is going away. And then you see like, there was like the lines for Muppets went all the way into Galaxy's Edge the other day, which people equate that to, well, it was so popular that they had lines on the last day. It's like, because... No, it was the last day. Like,
yeah, I mean, like listen, I know you'll probably disagree with this, but the Maelstrom is the same thing, right? It's like you went to the Epcot at any time and the Maelstrom had a 15-minute wait, right? But as soon as you're like, well, it's going to go away now. It's like, no, it's my favorite ride ever. Then why did you never ride it?
I liked Maelstrom and I rode Maelstrom. I enjoyed Maelstrom. So I'm not in the camp of, I never saw these things, but the last couple of times I went to Hollywood Studios, we didn't go and see Muppet Vision 3D. I think the last time I actually saw it was in 2022. So, it's been a couple of years, and actually, it was even before. No, it was 2019. Now that I think about it. So that brings up the point of, it wasn't, it had its, following, but it wasn't a popular ride.
No.
Or a popular attraction, I guess. And
popular enough anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was also kind of in a weird position where I don't think it was feasible for them to update it.
No. So. I agree. Well, listen, and so with that, we get the announcement that Rock and Roller Coaster, starring Aerosmith, which for you kids out there, Aerosmith is a band that hasn't been relevant in 30 years.
Go watch Armageddon or actually don't watch Armageddon. Don't watch
Armageddon. But no, sorry to all the Aerosmith fans out there. I'm kidding. But listen, it is true that Aerosmith is not really relevant to today's kids. And
if you've been on Rock and Roller Coaster, it's incredibly dated.
Yeah. And so with that, we have that Rock and Roller Coaster in its current form is set to close sometime in early 2026, which again is not really unexpected. I kind of thought that they would maybe start work on it sooner, but obviously they're probably still working on plans and getting things going. But they're also saying that it's going to close in early 2026, but also reopen before the end of 2026, which, I mean, makes sense because they're probably not going to they're not trashing the track,
gutting it. Yeah. It's a change to the layover and a change to the pre-show and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that big of a thing, but I know people are concerned about it, but it's So listen, if you want to ride Rock and Roller Coaster, get it in the next 6 months here,
And I'm good, thanks. But
yeah, you're ready to move on to a Muppets thing. Listen, I think this is, and I've seen people speculating on this, right? Like that villain show that they put in the theater that's right next to Rock and Roller Coaster. Mm-hmm. That could eventually end up being the new Muppet Vision 3D. Like that theater. Like, I mean, they could run that villain show for a year or two. And then once, because you think about it, if this isn't happening until the end of 26, like we have a year and a half until we have the Muppets in Rock and Roller Coaster. They could run that villain show for a couple of years and then, magically move in Muppet Vision 3D to that theater that's right next door and make a whole new Muppets courtyard,
That's actually entirely feasible.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. But the other thing too we should talk about with this is, so I don't know if you saw this, but they had Kermit announce that this was coming. And
oh god,
okay, we've touched on this before, and I know some of our listeners are much more passionate about this than I think we are, but they need to really look at who's doing the voice of Kermit, because that did not sound like Kermit.
The new Kermit is terrible. We've talked about it for a while.
He sounds like somebody doing an impression of Kermit.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy, who's done Kermit on our show many times, does a better Kermit.
Jeremy does a better Kermit.
Jeremy does a better Kermit than the new Kermit does.
And that, like, Jeremy, like that's like, seriously, you do a really good Kermit. Like, that's not,
no, that's like not in any way.
Like we're not saying like that you're bad at it. You're actually really good at it. It's but like this guy is terrible at it.
So
I don't
bad.
know. Yeah.
And actually, listener Jeff messaged us this morning and said, with that video, and said, "Can you imagine having to hear this terrible Kermit voice for the next 20 years in the pre-show?" And I'm like,
oh man,
it's got a point, dude. It's they got to do something with it. I don't understand. Does Disney have a choice in that, or is that the Jim Henson Studios that gets that?
I don't know.
That?
I don't know who made that decision. Is the thing. Like, he's
so bad. Although I will notice he's gotten better. It's less bad than it used to be. Like,
yeah, but it's still like that announcement just really, like,
I know.
Like it's not like he was having an off day or something. I don't know.
You know what the voice sounds like? It sounds like regular Kermit with a cold. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Kermit has a cold, but it's perpetually just that. Like, it just always has a cold for the rest of history.
But before we move on to our next topic, I remembered there was a couple of things that I needed to bring up at the beginning of the show
you hadn't. Okay.
I forgot about, we should cover these things off from a previous show, just to get it out there.
Okay.
So you mentioned Jeff was talking about Kermit, but so a different Jeff. So we have a couple of different Jeffs.
Multiple Jeffs.
One of the other Jeffs that listens to our show mentioned that back in, I believe it was like 2023, he brought up the Skyliner line that we talked about last week.
Oh, did he?
He proposed that, and he linked to it. You probably didn't see it, but he linked to it on Facebook, that he had actually drawn a diagram of what.
Did he really?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need to, I know we theorized and we were all excited about it, but Jeff talked about it first.
Okay.
Got to put it out there that Jeff, props to Jeff for thinking of that well before we did. Apologies. We are very stream of consciousness on the show, so.
I thought about this for a while.
About. Well, okay, but you say that, but really, like, after about like 2 or 3 weeks, we kind of forget what's happened or what was said. So, sorry about that, Jeff. We didn't mean to take your thunder from back then, but Jeff did diagram what we talked about.
Give credit where credit's due, man.
Exactly.
I did not mean to steal your take, Jeff. I honestly do not recall that. And I don't actually, I mean, Trevor can attest this. I don't use social media at all. So
which I assume that's probably why you didn't see it. I just happened to see it linked, or he pointed it out to our Facebook page, and I was like, oh, okay, I should probably correct us on that. So
let's hope we're both right, Jeff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The other thing that I just need to quickly touch on was, we talked about that Stitch Dole Whip Sunday with the Powerade last week. So I did food time at home, and I posted on Facebook and on the Discord, and I didn't know how I was going to feel about Dole Whip and Powerade mixed together, and it's actually way better than you think it would be. Okay. The specifically the berry, so the blueberry Powerade is what I used. So if anybody wants to do it at home, like, if you have a creamy, you can buy Dole Whip mix and make it. Highly recommend it. The funny thing too is that when you mix the two together, it looks like the green milk from Galaxy's Edge, but it tastes 100 times better.
Nice.
So I'll just leave that out there. So food time at home did happen from our conversation last week. So,
and by the way, I know we did one food time episode and we haven't done one since. It's only because of what happened. Like, there were some food things that happened during our vacations, but by the time we got around to doing more shows, it was pretty stale at that point. So we're just waiting for more food news. As soon as we get a menu for food and wine, man, we are all over that. So food and wine will probably be the next big one. So I would keep an eye out for that. I would think.
Okay, so. Sorry.
Maybe they'll do something done, like Father's Day thing. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm done derailing the show. Now we can get back to what we actually had on the rundown.
by the way, this is why I don't listen to other Disney podcasts, because I'm always worried about like subconsciously stealing somebody else's idea or thought, or you know what I mean. And I listen. Maybe I saw Jeff's thing and I subconsciously stole it. I apologize, Jeff.
But the thing is that it also shows that we all have ideas and stuff, but we all kind of have a common line of thinking as well, right? So
what, you're saying I'm not a creative genius, Trevor? Is that what you're saying? I can't believe that. That's shocking.
You are an individual, but you do not always have individual thought.
I fail to believe that.
Let's an individual thing to say.
Let's do our ad, Trevor, and then we'll talk about a couple other things that have been. I mean, listen, I feel like after last week's episode, Disney somehow heard it and was like, all right, Trevor, you want some Disney news? We'll give you some Disney news.
Yeah, they gave us some Disney news this week.
They did. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and do this ad. All right, the sponsor of this episode is DVC Resale Market. DVC Resale Market, a World of DVC company, is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere, with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2024, DVC Resale Market helped over 4,400 families join or add on to their membership. Go to dvcresalemarket.com/welcome home or call 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 1-844-382-7767. And when you speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Trevor, I know we haven't been doing a lot of merch stuff lately, but I had to post this because
this is not Disney merch per se, or
it's Disney Home.
It's Disney. It's officially approved by Disney, but as the title of the article says, but at what cost?
Yes. So Disney brings Haunted Mansion to early Halloween decor shopping, but at what cost? Lowe's already has Halloween decorations out.
Yeah, they're like Costco. They're like 3 months ahead of whatever season it is. Yeah.
Yes. So, but the reason I had to post this is because this stuff is really cool.
Cool or okay.
You don't like them? I think it's awesome.
Okay, the hitchhiking ghosts and the grave or the groundskeeper, are horrible.
You don't like that? See, I like them. I think they look cool.
No, I don't like.
Okay,
the groundskeeper. Oh my, like whoever, like I get they're trying to emulate the face of the groundskeeper in the ride, but it doesn't look right.
I like them.
It looks it's too goofy.
I like it. I think it's very like cartoony. Also though they have this knight.
The knight's better. Yeah.
The knight is holding its head and its eyes glow, but it also apparently sings Grim Grinning Ghosts and moves.
As the knight should, because he does in the ride.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. Oh man, see, I like that. What do you not like that the hitchhiking ghosts like? You think they look weird or
they're too? Again, it's too cartoony.
I get it.
They just don't look. And even like looking at the one on the left, like the eyes are like it looks like a kid drew them. Like
I get that, yeah.
Like if you really look at them, it looks like they gave a project to somebody's kid to like. Take this picture of the hitchhiking ghosts and copy it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I do like all these fake gravestones.
Yes, the gravestones are actually the best part of this. I agree that the gravestones are solid, and like the picture of Master Gracie and all that stuff is awesome. And I would buy and put in my front yard.
Agreed. They have the kitty statue. They have the They have a couple different ones. They're cool. I like those a lot. I actually like the bust too. Although I don't know what character they're trying to depict in that bust. I think really sure.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's not one of the singing busts, is it?
No, because I don't remember any of them where
it must be one of the ones from the library that they're trying to do. The ones
Cousin Algernon is the name of it. Who is Cousin Algernon? Okay. It is one of the singing busts. Okay.
Oh, okay. So
I didn't remember him having a hat.
Probably one of the ones that we never look at because you're always drawn to the one that looks like Walt Disney.
Yeah. Well, there's also yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. Okay. I just didn't remember a hat anywhere. Okay.
Yeah. I actually, now that I think about it, because I have the ornaments of the singing busts, and yeah, one of them does have a hat. So
okay. Well, there you go. Well, I just didn't remember that small detail. All right, well, that's enough talk about that. Let's get on to the big news, right?
Okay, here we go. So, Frontierland is having some major stuff done to it. And we finally got a name for the new area that is taking over Tom Sawyer's Island. And it's going to be called Piston Peak.
National Park.
Piston Peak National Park, yes.
That's right.
Which,
yeah. Good.
Okay, so initial impressions of this. So I'm sure everybody's seen the they've got this great concept art that's going around, or it's not even concept art. It looks like a postcard, right?
It's very cartoony. This one is very cartoony as opposed to the other one that they released previously that was very like realistic looking. Yes. This one is very cartoony. Like you said, it's like a postcard.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that it's showing like you can clearly see where Big Thunder and Tiana's is in the background. And the shops and Country Bear and everything kind of going down the side. So it's like this is like facing towards it from Liberty Square or like by Haunted Mansion kind of thing. So my initial impressions of this, and I said this to my wife, and I know people who haven't been to the West Coast aren't going to get what I'm saying here, but those that have been, this looks like a cross between Cars Land and Grizzly Peak in California Adventure. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for it. Like, I think it looks great. It fits very much the theme of like a national park in like anywhere really, or anywhere in the Rocky Mountains. Like it's very much giving that like Rocky Mountains vibe. And they said that like in the description, it's meant to look like Rocky Mountains trails kind of stuff, which for me, like I live right on the edge of the Rocky Mountains. So, looking at all this, it's like, yeah, they're definitely capturing what an area like that would look like. So I'm excited for it. I think I think the what they're bringing forward looks great. And the initial impressions of it are there better be some very like calm park or like I don't know how to describe the music, but it's like again, if you've been to like in California Adventure, when you're in those areas, there's like this very calm music that's playing. You'll have to go find, like, if you look up like the Grizzly Peak area music or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There better be something like that playing in here. Like, it just feels to me like it needs to be like somewhere that you can just walk around. And I know that there's going to be like, a ride going through there and everything, but it feels like it has the potential to be a very chill area.
I would agree with that. It feels, I know a lot of people were very concerned about the loss of the free flowing water that we had with, with that whole area. But it's very clear from this concept art that there is going to be a ton of moving water. Just there's waterfalls, there's geysers, there's the whole half of the land,
little rivers and stuff running through it. Yeah. Which really is great.
Helps. Yeah, it's the kinetic energy you get from that stuff is huge, and that's why Disney does it in a lot of places. But it really feels like a main feature of this, and of course, I mean, if you're in a national park, you expect to see that kind of stuff, right? The interesting thing I thought about with this, Trevor, it's funny because I said this. I didn't read the article when it was first sent out. I just looked at the picture and I was like, oh, okay. And then I started commenting, right? And then I was thinking to myself, okay, with how this is set up, you're going to be walking through Frontierland and you're going to have the Wild West on your left. And then you're going to have cars doing a rally car. You're going to have rally cars on your right, which is not really going to fit in nicely together, right? Like, I didn't love that idea in my head. I was like, well, I'm going to have Country Bears and, the Pecos Bill over here. And then we're going to have cars that are alive and talking to my right. And I'll be able to see both of them. And that really doesn't feel very Disney to me. But if you read the article, they actually prepare for this. And they accounted for this. And I mean, listen, Disney's they're big about sightlines and things like that. That's not surprising to me. But what they've said is from the outside, they're going to have trees, and it's going to like a big forest of trees. It's going to provide a natural barrier between the off-road rally and Frontierland and Liberty Square. So they are going to purposely block your view of this cars area when you're walking through the Frontierland area. And it sounds like through Liberty Square as well, which I'm glad that they're doing. And
again, it makes sense with the aesthetic of the area because, if you've ever been out to the Rocky Mountains, there are trees everywhere. And I mean, you do get the occasional views of the mountains, which again, I feel like it'll be like back towards Big Thunder. You will have that kind of view. But like you said, cutting off like, where Country Bears is and, all the way up to Liberty Square. Yeah. If they can cut that all off, that you should still be able to see little bits and pieces of it. I feel
I'm sure you will.
But yeah, it shouldn't be just like it shouldn't be like Test Track where like you just constantly hear the thing going by all the time. Right. Yeah.
Like just constantly hear that sound. Right.
And again, it's also the same kind of thing. And again, if you look at the way Cars Land is structured, they have Radiator Springs Racers there, which when you're in Cars Land, you don't know that it's there. And it's not until you actually go past Flo's Cafe that you only see a small section of it.
Yeah. And
again, it makes sense because they kind of do like that Route 66 thing over there. So you see just that one section, but the rest of the ride, they do when they want to, Disney can do a really good job of making sure that you don't know that it's there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I have faith in them that this is not going to be obnoxious and it should be something that you're going to be curious about what it is, but it's not going to be hitting you in the face that there's a ride running through here. Right.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel like it's gonna blend in very nicely if they do it this way. Two other things I'm noticing on this, Trevor, and listen, this is concept art, right? So concept art, as I don't know if you saw the article, but they finally put up the new Test Track sign, and the new Test Track sign is completely different than the concept art that they put out, which doesn't matter. I mean, concepts change, right? And it's good. This is going to change as we go along. But two of the things I've noticed on this picture. One is that over to the upper right-hand corner near Big Thunder, it appears that they have, in this photo, kept the bridge from Tom Sawyer Island. That same kind of like rickety bridge that you walk across on Tom Sawyer Island. Now, I don't know if we're going to call it the same bridge, but it looks like they have that kind of bridge going on there.
Interesting. Is it? Or I equated that, or no, I guess I see where the other bridge is that goes over top of Tiana's.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
So, yeah.
That's actually my second point, Trevor.
Yeah.
Is it me, or are they making it seem like the water from there is going to run right into this new land from Tiana?
I mean, I guess they could, because...
Is it going to be one big body of water? Is that what they're doing?
That would be something, for sure.
Right? Yeah, like talk about blending it in, right? I mean,
yeah, the only weird thing with that would be every time that Tiana's goes down for maintenance, would they have to drain the entire
that's a good
river around
it's a valid question.
Piston Peak, yeah.
But based on this concept art, it looks like they have the water from Tiana going right into the water that feeds into this whole water system that they have going on. Now, given this is cartoony, it's not detailed, it's overall high level concept, right? So we may just be reading into things based on that, but I feel like even if it doesn't directly go into there, they're very good at creating the illusion of things connecting when they don't. That's true,
right?
That's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah. The other thing too, or I guess something else looking up at where Tiana's is that there's going to be a mountain of some sort there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess it probably won't block the view, but that's usually a spot, or whenever I've been in Frontierland and the fireworks are going off, you can kind of stand over in front of Tiana's, and it's usually relatively quiet over there because everybody's over watching the fireworks. But it's a great kind of like, you're not getting like the perfect view of the castle or anything, but it's a nice place to watch the fireworks from. But if there's a large mountain in front of that area now, that might not work anymore. But the other thing too is that this area is also going to probably open up a bunch of other.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how this is going to all like flow and
shake out,
whatnot.
That's going to be really interesting to see how that all kind of shakes out, because it's funny too, because just based on like the way this picture is set up too, the Haunted Mansion is nowhere in this picture, right? So like how they're going to blend that stuff in, I'm sure they've planned for this, but it's going to be interesting. Now, with all this said, by the way, if you are a huge Tom Sawyer Island fan and Liberty Square Riverboat fan and all that, you have a month to get on it, because the closure date is July 7th. So that's when they're going to start really working up on this, starting to, I'm sure, fill in the river, and start removing everything from Tom Sawyer Island. So listen, if you guys really want to do that one more time, now's the time, right?
Yep. I mean, I had my fill back when my son was like 8 years old. So
yeah. Also, we should mention too that because of this construction, that the train is going to be closed. Not really, but kind of. So it's not though. Wait, it's not just the station. Just the station.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Just the Frontierland station.
Just the Frontierland station. So yeah, it's just the Frontierland station. They're going to be running in what they call shuttle mode. So they're basically just going to be skipping. They're going to be skipping that station. So
really, you're only getting going to be able to get it on and off at Main Street and Mickey's.
Fantasyland.
Or what? Yeah, what is that area? I wanted to call it. I almost called it Toontown. Man,
no, it's Fantasyland. It's the Fantasyland stop. Yeah.
At the back of Mickey's circus there.
Yeah, right next to Tron. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the hidden path next to Tron that a lot of people don't even know exists. But
I took that last time we were there because we were on the Barnstormer and my wife was on Tron, and so we went through that. That's a nice little walkway. I like that walkway.
Yeah, I did that with my brother. We were actually we wanted to get across the park over to Frontierland, and we were over by Tron, and I was like, we're going to take the secret tunnel, and he
laughed about it.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's still going to be open, which is great. I was just going to comment that it feels like there's like a weird curse around the train at the moment, where it's like
it's constantly a problem.
Every time it's like, oh yes, it's open. I love using the train, and then it's like, we're closing it again for a year.
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not.
No, the train will still run, thankfully. So
I will be interested to see what Disney does with the Liberty Bell, right? Because I feel the Liberty Bell is a huge part of the park's history, right? And I don't think that they can just like destroy it or sell it. I think it has to go somewhere.
So the thing is that in Disneyland they have both the Mark Twain and the Columbia, which are so they alternate. The Columbia I think is definitely used during Phantasmic, but I don't know. They used to actually have it that you could go on the Columbia. I mean, anybody who's been there recently, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they might still do that. But the Mark Twain it's like similar to the Liberty Bell, right? So
yeah.
I wonder if, maybe they could move it over to the West Coast and have both of those, it gives them the ability to like alternate those ships.
Yeah.
And, it makes it easier for maintenance and stuff that, like, if they need to take down the Mark Twain, they could run the Liberty Bell, stuff like that. So I
wonder if they could use it for Phantasmic at Disney World.
I think it might be too big for that.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be much bigger than that ship, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I should mention, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, in Disneyland, they don't use it for that in Disneyland either, because they use the Columbia specifically for that. So, yeah.
But by the way, I should mention, just for detail here, the shuttle mode that I was talking about, they're going to completely avoid that part of the track. So what shuttle mode means is that it's going to actually go backwards and forwards in between Fantasyland and Main Street.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. It's not conducting any full loops. It's literally going to go backwards and forwards. And so they're actually, they're going to be flipping a bunch of the benches to face the opposite direction, so that people that don't like going backwards will be okay.
Okay. So, yeah. That's interesting.
Hey, listen, at least they're keeping it open. Okay. We lost it for 4 years.
At least it's something. Yeah. Totally fair. At least it's something. The fact that they're just not shutting it down again is definitely better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the things I wanted to mention on this that I thought was actually really cool, Trevor, because I love when they do stuff like this, right?
I know what you're. Oh yeah. I want to talk about this too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the Piston Peak, the concept art, there's a character in it that they're introducing. And what was the character's name?
His name is Ranger J. Autobahn Woodlore is his full name.
Ranger J. Autobahn Woodlore. Okay.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about this, and that's a car, right? The cool thing about this is if you go deep dive, right? Like you have to go pretty deep, way back. There is.
I thought it was pretty obvious. I recognized what they were playing on.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about from the 50s and 60s. It's obvious. Yeah, I mean, if you know the old cartoons.
I saw the old cartoons growing up. So
yeah. And so there's Ranger Woodlore there's a human character named Ranger Woodlore. It's found in some old cartoons that featured Humphrey the Bear. And there was a Donald Duck short called Grin and Bear It, where where Ranger Woodlore is the ranger at a national park. So the fact that they decided to do a national park, but then also make a character based on that character, like not even a well-known character, I feel like. I mean, somewhat, right? Like it's still a deep track.
Yeah, he's deep in the lore now for sure. I feel like he used to be more common back in the 70s and 80s. I remember again, Sunday night Disney, he would they would run those old shorts and stuff like that. So, he wasn't completely unfamiliar to us back then, but yeah, he definitely is not. Actually, no, that's not fair, because he has shown up in newer stuff like House of Mouse and whatnot. There has been a couple of and it's just more cameo stuff, right? Though he hasn't been like a main character in anything for a long time. But yeah, the fact that they've done a Cars version of him, and the funny thing is that so his proper, or the original character, is named Ranger Jane Audubon. So
Audubon.
it's Audubon is the spelling. But then the new character, they changed it to Ranger J. Autobahn, like the Autobahn. Yeah. So yeah, that's such an easy one that I'm sure somebody looked at one. Great, we can do this one.
We can play with some words here.
and I like the fact that they made him look like a Ranger's truck, right? So it's just it's like you said, it's a great nod back to a classic character, and I'm hoping that the reason that they're showing him is maybe he will be like the one leading us through the ride, or
he will.
like doing like setup. Okay, so
they confirmed that already. Yeah, so he will.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's going to be in the queue for the main attraction where guests do the off-road rally. He will appear in a ranger room where he will be an audio animatronic figure. So wow. Yeah, so while the guests queue, he'll provide story details of why you're there, and then it seems like the pre-show is going to be an animatronic version of him. So there you go.
Okay, great.
yeah, which is awesome.
See, I didn't assume that because they kind of teased him, and I was like, okay, they love doing this where they'll like slip these things in, but they usually aren't so quick to like be like, oh, this is the main character, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, so it sounds like they've already planned and thought about all this. So yeah. Now I guess here's the question: is if they're bringing him in, are we going to get some kind of nod to Humphrey as well? Because I feel like if he's present, there should be a Humphrey type character somewhere, I feel.
Yeah. That would be cool. There should be. By the way, talking about the sightlines and stuff, I saw an additional article about it where they're also trying to like dull the sound and stuff too, which I really think that they're going to do a good job with this. Yeah,
I mean, it's again, like I said, people don't understand how well Disney can do this stuff when they want to. Like again, if you look at Cars Land, there is the equivalent of Test Track running there in the back. Yeah. And you can be standing in Radiator Springs on the main street, and you're not like, it's not overtaking anything about standing on the main street. Like I think the problem is people always think about like things like Test Track. Like Test Track is such an old ride, and again, just because of how that they built it and everything, like it's so noisy, right? Like you can hear and actually I don't think I mentioned this when we were in Epcot a couple of weeks ago. We actually heard them testing Test Track but we were over by Figment and we heard it.
It's so loud. It's
So,
which makes me think that they've maybe iterated on the ride system, because it seems like it's going to be the same kind of ride system as both Test Track and the Cars ride. But they've said here, and they've really stressed that, like, listen, you're not going to see this from Liberty Square. Like, you're not going to see these mountains. You're not going to see all this stuff from Liberty Square. It's going to be blocked. You're not. I mean, they will. I mean, Disney does sightlines well, even though. Mm-hmm. Listen, you can make an argument over at Epcot that they don't bother with sightlines, and that's a little bit of a different thing, I think. Because obviously there's no hiding the Guardians of the Galaxy building. It's massive, and you can't hide it. It's just not possible. And I mean, like, even the second Soarin' show building you can see, right, if you're paying attention. But like in Magic Kingdom, it's a little bit different. You're putting this smack dab in the middle of Magic Kingdom, and you're putting it in areas where the theme could conflict with other themes. And I just think they're going to be very careful about that. I mean, literally they're talking, they've said that they said to make sure that they don't hear the attraction from Frontierland, they're going to employ techniques such as a certain trail pitch for the ride path, landscape buffers, adjusting audio mixes, and also evaluating the material they're using on the track. So like, they're really taking this stuff into account. They don't want to ruin the aesthetics of the classic Disney, of the Frontierland and Liberty Square and the Haunted Mansion for that matter. Right. All of that if you don't do this right and you don't block those sightlines, you don't block that sound, it will take you out of the places that are around it. But like I said, I fully believe they're going to do a great job with this.
And the thing is people talk about like the waterfront of the rivers of America and all that.
Yeah,
I feel that, looking at Liberty Square and that whole area, I find it hard, or it would be very easy to just say, how like if you've been to like any small town, it's like, oh, there'll be like a nice building and it's like right next to like woods, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it'll just be like that, as it's like, you just feel like, oh, there's like, Liberty Square's here and the woods are over there. Like it'll just look like wilderness, right? Like if they do this right, that's exactly what it'll be. It won't be like, oh, but I feel like, I'm standing in between both of them. It'll be, no, you're just you're standing on the edge of the town, right? So
listen, and they've got a lot of experience doing this. This is not like their first like rodeo, right? Like even with Cars Land, like you were talking about, they do a lot with the sightlines in Cars Land. And I mean, also if you look at some of the foreign parks too, they really are careful about sightlines there.
And the crazy part, and we'll get into this in a minute, but right behind Cars Land is Harbor Boulevard, which if anybody knows what Harbor Boulevard is, there's a ton of hotels. It is a very busy street, and when you're in Cars Land, you don't know that is there. Like it, they can, when Disney wants to, they can do really well with hiding stuff.
For sure. So let's talk about these. Let's talk about Disneyland now. Anything else on this?
That's a good segue.
I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be great. I think it takes an area of the park that is not was nice to look at, but not well attended, and does something productive with it, I would say. So
it's honestly, sorry, as much as people like everything else that we've talked about, rides going away and all that is, but Tom Sawyer's Island, like it's not been a thing for
a long time,
20 years, honestly. At least. It's like, I think the last time I saw anything happen with Tom Sawyer's Island was actually in Disneyland. And it was that they added some Pirates of the Caribbean stuff to it.
Yeah.
So in Disney World, they've not touched it in forever. And it shows. And again, I get that, it's a classic piece of Disney history and all that, but there's no reason to just keep an island sitting there for no reason.
It's a pretty large piece of land. I mean, it's a lot of space that they can do.
It is
something great with. So let's let them do something great with it. And if you want to hate it after that, hate it. Yeah,
and I don't think people realize, like, if you like, they go, oh, but the view across the water. It's like, yeah, but that is, like you said, that is a lot of space. It is it's a ton of space, and it's, again, it's bringing it forward into something that I'm hopeful that this will just step up Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, not to say that Magic Kingdom is in a bad place in any way, shape, or form, but this will just, again, bring it, bring something new and better to it that it does need. Like you do need to replace these things from time to time. So,
well, sorry, I know we were going to move on, but I want to go back to just our interview with Deborah Danielle, because I thought she said this very, very well, where she said, that when she went to the New Country Bears, that she saw a bunch of kids dancing and singing along with the show. And then she said, that's why they did it. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why they're making this Cars, right? No kids care about Tom Sawyer Island. They don't, they don't even know who Tom Sawyer is. They know who Cars are, though. Right. Yeah. And that's why they're doing these things. So as much as we as adults are like nostalgic for the things that have been there and the things that we remember from our childhood, these things need to keep being reinvented for new generations, or else they just become irrelevant and underused or unused at all. And that's what it's been. And it
turns into Carowinds.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So yeah, I thought she put that so well, because that is exactly true. Like, whenever they do these things, it feels like a cold corporate thing where they're like, let's throw IP into stuff, but it's really, let's engage kids in the thing that they understand and know. And I know the Cars franchise at this point is very old, but it is still extraordinarily popular. It's not, showing any signs of slowing down.
And again, like I've personally seen how Disney can handle this stuff. Like, the hard part is, for on the East Coast, people have not seen we have seen things like Galaxy's Edge and all that. But Cars Land was something different. Like, Galaxy's Edge definitely has that initial wow factor, but Cars Land has the immersion. And this feels like they've kind of gone back to, not just the initial wow of it, but bringing the immersion,
the deepness of it.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Disneyland. So Disneyland gave us a look into some of their future expansion plans. They're just kind of trickling some things in here and there, probably because a lot of the stuff is still pretty up in the air. But they're starting to really make some decisions here. So it's funny because Trevor, when I saw this article and I was looking at it on my phone, I saw the concept art and I was like, I don't know, it looks, what's happening in this concept art? It doesn't look like anything is different. Now
this is very different.
Yes. Now that I'm seeing it on a computer, I'm like, oh, okay, now I see. But so they're going to build a new parking structure and transportation hub on the east side of Disneyland Resort on a cast member parking lot. And it's going to have it's a 6,000 parking spot, parking garage that's going to have security and all that fun stuff, right? And dedicated access for traffic off of Disney Way, and this is supposed to improve parking and traffic flow, right? Which, listen, we're talking about parking, not the most exciting thing, right?
I mean, it is and it isn't. The thing is, I should point out. So, looking at where they're proposing this parking structure, so the Mickey and Friends parking lot is on the opposite side of Disneyland.
Yeah,
this thing is way bigger than the Mickey and Friends parking structure. So, in terms of just available space for parking, it is a big thing because they are very compact in the amount of space they have. This is going to make it a lot easier for people getting in and out. And
good.
And then the fact that, so in this concept art on the right-hand side, there is this bridge that's going to go over top of Harbor Boulevard, which is, as we just talked about, Harbor Boulevard is incredibly busy. And I can personally attest to being one of those families crossing at the lights at Harbor Boulevard to get over to Disneyland from staying at a Good Neighbor hotel. And it, as a kid, it was scary. And I can imagine even now it's even more scary because that place has just gotten busier over time. So, so the bridge and everything that they're bringing in, it's going to be a huge improvement to the area for sure. But now let's talk about there are some hints in this in this concept art of not just the parking structure, but regarding the avatar area that is going in. It seems because it looks like on the far left hand side of it, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually shrinking the Esplanade, the Esplanade is the area in between Disneyland and California Adventure. It's like just this like center courtyard that you go through security, and that's how you get back and forth between the parks, and then you can also go over to downtown Disney and all that. But it looks like they're shrinking the Esplanade, which makes sense because it doesn't need to be a huge space, I don't believe, because that's like, the bottleneck's not there. It's usually with security for people getting in and out. And I can see where underneath the Disneyland Resort sign, it looks like that's going to be like one of the security hubs coming in. And then I assume like on the bridge, there will be, again, probably back towards the parking lot, there will be, security that you come through as well.
It does say the bridge will lead to an all new Esplanade arrival experience. It does say that in the article.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm assuming that security, like they're figuring out how to, get security and everything there so that the Esplanade is not going to be full of people. And then that is, I feel, part of the justification that they're expanding out into the Esplanade for the Avatar land that is replacing the Hollywood backlot area in, California Adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's very interesting that they're like, I was wondering how they were going to do that because, we've talked about the Avatar area and I could not visualize where it was going to go.
Where they're going to put it.
Time. Yeah. So this makes a lot of sense.
It should also be noted. So they also gave the location for the Coco attraction, which is going to be over near Paradise Gardens Park and Pixar Pier. Mm-hmm. And that's just taking over backstage areas. So you're not losing anything for that. However,
and this is behind where the Incredicoaster is for anybody that's wondering. So it's
gotcha.
Back near the Emotional Whirlwind from Up or not Up. Oh my God. Inside Out.
Inside Out, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, so that's where that's going. That's good. It's not going to take over anything. Now, for the for the Avatar experience, they keep calling it Avatar Experience. So I feel like they're being very careful not to call it a land. Which, you know what I mean?
If you know how much space they have in the Hollywood backlot area, it's not a lot of space for sure.
Okay.
It's not enough to qualify as a whole land, but they're trying to utilize the space as well
as effectively
as
they can. Yeah. So to do that, they're going to be closing the Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue ride in early 2026. And they're saying construction will begin for all this at the towards the end of 2026, towards the fall. Was that a sarcastic "oh no"?
Yep, it sure was.
Well, listen. Okay, so if you don't know the history behind that ride, which
I do.
I know you. I meant anybody out there listening. I meant people out there listening. If you're not aware of the history of that ride. So, Trevor, do you want to give it? I mean,
so this was originally it was called
Superstar
the
Limo.
Superstar Limo was the original version of this ride, and it wasn't even it was the equivalent of like a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride or like Winnie the Pooh ride. So you get in a car, and the initial iteration was going down like Hollywood Boulevard, and they had like all kinds of random celebrities was the ride, and it was bad. Like if you want to see,
widely considered one of the worst rides they've ever built.
I think it's the worst ride they've ever built. Yeah. Like it was bad. And so what they did was they closed it, and then they redid it as Monsters Inc. But the hilarious thing was that they reused a lot of the animatronics from the original ride in Monsters Inc., but they just turned those like celebrity animatronics into monsters.
It's the monsters, or to like the CD, what is it, CDA or whatever it is?
The CDA or no, CDC.
No, what is the name of it? Why am I forgetting it?
Child Detect or CDA, yeah.
Child Detection is CDA. Yeah. So like you can go on YouTube. Several people have produced videos showing the reused animatronics, and it's actually pretty funny. So while the original ride is considered one of the worst ever, and actually too, there's even more backstory around that, where it was supposed to be about like it was supposed to be like you were racing across town, and there was like trying to get away from the paparazzi, but then when Princess died the way she did, they had to shift, and then it just was not. It was a bad ride, and everyone would say it was a bad ride. So but I assume, Trevor, that this ride was better, but still not an e-ticket attraction.
Yeah, it was okay. And I think the biggest redeeming quality of it, I felt, was at the end of the ride, there was a animatronic of Roz. And I'm not entirely sure, but it seemed that it didn't have just canned responses. It actually like would call out like,
yeah, didn't she like roast people? Yeah, she would like roast people.
It would call out, like you would sit there for a second, and she would be like, "Hey, nice hat," or like, your glasses look goofy. Like, but it always seemed like specific to people in the ride. But like it wasn't like super detailed, but she had a bunch of like more unique responses than just the like just a common canned response at the end of the ride, right?
Yeah.
So the Roz animatronic was definitely neat, and the ride as a whole, it was the Mike and Sully thing was not bad, but again, it just showed a Disney attempting to salvage something that honestly was not good to begin with. Yeah,
it was not salvageable.
Yeah, so it's not. Yes, it was it was a great kids ride, but I don't think it's going to be missed, especially considering the fact that we are getting a proper Monstropolis. Like, anybody that's upset that it's going away, like, I don't know what you're upset about, because we're getting a much better version. Because the other thing, too, was that the outside of the ride wasn't even like it was kind of tacked into their Hollywood Boulevard area. So it wasn't even like it was like overall, like the queue was all themed to Monstropolis, but it was in a weird place where it was like you're walking down the street and all of a sudden it's Monsters Inc. ride. Like it didn't make sense, right? So I'm not hurt that this is going away, because again it's a remnant of a very bad time at Disney, I think, and they're replacing it with something that it looks cool. If it's just a smaller area with whatever Avatar stuff they put into it, I still think that that'll be miles ahead of what is there now.
Yeah. And, so you don't think anyone's going to be all that sad about this going away?
No, I can't see how, because like, and especially, if you're arguing, well, I would take my kids there and whatever, like this Avatar area looks like it's going to have a lot of similar stuff that is in, Pandora in Animal Kingdom, which, outside of, the rides are one thing, but the land itself is very interactive.
Yeah.
And there's always kids like, going around and exploring all the different, alien plants and stuff like that. It feels like it's going to be very similar to that, which,
yeah.
If you're worried about, well, what are my kids going to do there? Well, go enjoy the entire space.
Yeah, it's that's another really immersive land that they've done. I mean, that one, I still marvel when I walk into Pandora and see the floating mountains and all that. It is a really cool place. And but it's interesting, Trevor, because just looking at, doing what I do and looking at Google Maps here and seeing where this is, like this like new Avatar land's going to butt up right against the monorail track. So
yeah,
that's gonna be like interesting. And, like, are you just gonna be on the monorail and you're gonna be like see this whole random piece of Avatar, or are they just gonna block it out somehow?
Yeah,
like
probably kind of like how you could see the Guardians of the Galaxy ride and all of that. You can see all that from the monorail. The thing is that when you're in the land, like, I guess the thing is you'll probably see the tops of it.
Yeah,
like how how you do with like Big Thunder and whatnot. But I don't see this being something where when you're in the land that it's going to be very or that you'll be distracted by other things. But from the monorail standpoint, it's actually good that you can see it from the monorail, because that is kind of like a preview of what you're going to be seeing, right? So
yeah, by the way,
it gets people built up for the hype of it.
Yeah, exactly. It is worth noting, by the way, that the Coco attraction, they are starting to since it is backstage only, they are going to be starting construction this fall for that. So like that's starting soon here. That one seems a lot further along than the Avatar stuff. So because they're saying here specifically, this project is still in early stages of development. So they have some fun concept art for Avatar. They just don't know what they're doing completely. So
yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind too is that I guess for anybody going to Disneyland in the next little while, because of the fact that they're doing all of these changes to the Esplanade and building this bridge and stuff, getting in and out of Disneyland on the Harbor Boulevard side is probably going to be messy for a little while.
Oh yeah.
So just keep that in mind, is that, if you're, because the way Disneyland is structured is that you have the Disneyland or the Disney hotels on the opposite side, from Harbor Boulevard. Along Harbor Boulevard is all the Good Neighbor hotels, which, like I said, I've stayed at the Good Neighbor hotels many times over the years, and they, people tend to stay there because they are cheaper and you're literally within walking distance of Disneyland. So why would you not do that? But like I said, the problem is that because they're going to be doing all this construction, you may find that it's harder to get around the area for the foreseeable future. So so that's something that I would take away from this is, really pay attention to whatever is going on at the moment, because they may be closing off, walkways and stuff like that. It sucks because in the interim, it's going to be a bit more painful to get around, but I think the end result is going to be pretty awesome. And
yeah. And this is really just the beginning of what they're doing at Disneyland, because we talked about on the show, they have this whole Disneyland Forward initiative that they are actively developing. These are really just a couple of the things that we have from it, right? So it's these two, and then new stuff over at Avengers Campus. So I mean, there's a lot more to come, I think, from this, and a lot more work that's going to be done here. So yeah, it's a good start though.
Sorry, I just noticed in the top left-hand corner of the picture, there is something back there, and I don't know what it is.
In the top left-hand corner?
Yeah, there's like a weird building in the back there. I wonder if they're dropping hints for some of the Disneyland Forward stuff, because that would be kind of...
Are you talking like directly to the left of the Disneyland Resort sign? Is that what we're talking about?
So to the left,
way back of the picture,
like way back of the picture. So like you see how the monorail track kind of goes off into,
kind of like wiggles.
Yeah. So like up, straight up from there, there's some odd looking buildings.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
And that's definitely not the Disneyland Hotel. I can tell you that.
I guess I'll have to wait to find out, right?
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to be subtle with their, hey, like you said, they've got things going on. This is just the start of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah. Wow. That I didn't think we'd talk about Disneyland as long as we did, but yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it's good. It's good when we get some Disneyland in there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess if you have any comments about anything that we talked about on the show, Disneyland or Piston Peak, or maybe your own theme park experience outside of Disney as well, after Tom shared his Carowinds experience with us, you can always share it with us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys and hearing what you're doing for your Disney planning or vacation planning. We are also on social media, so you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast. And you can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. Make sure you also check out our group on Facebook, Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, where we talk about stuff from the show. We get great memes going on in there, and generally have a good time talking about Disney and DVC stuff. So come join us there if you want to get into that kind of conversation. And if you want to help support the show, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out our merch there. It just helps us keep the show running. And also, we would love to see if you got a pic of you, sporting merch in the parks. Share that with us. We love seeing that you guys are repping Welcome Home Podcast on your own vacations.
Yes, do that.
It's always cool. And also, we have a Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod and check out our different levels of Patreon support, which has exclusive merch that is not in the store. It's stuff that you can only get on Patreon. And our Patreon listeners get access to the Discord server, which we have even more in-depth conversations about stuff from the show. And sometimes we do sneak previews of things like the interview we did the other week with Dapper Danielle and stuff like that. So, if you want to get on the inside track of the stuff that we're doing, please check out our Patreon. Last but not least, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere where you can leave us a 5-star review, please do so. We like seeing that. It just helps the show continue to be visible on those platforms. That's just how the algorithms work, and helps more people find the show. So leave us a 5-star review so that we can continue to get out to more people. So hopefully we can find more fans to talk about stuff in the Facebook group and all that.
To steal their theories from. We need more fans that we can steal their.
Sorry, Jeff. We are very sorry about that. It was.
I bet if you go back and look at that post, I probably commented on it too or something.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure you did because So Jeff brought it back and I commented on it and I said sorry, and I'll bring this up that we didn't realize that we were inadvertently rehashing things. But hey, to be fair, that was years ago.
It was several years ago. Yeah. I don't remember what we did on last week's show.
Exactly.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube Music, just about any podcast app that's out there. You can find us. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please consult a Disney cast member or a DVC representative for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to our sponsor, DVC Resale Market. Please check them out for any of your DVC needs, especially if you're buying or selling. And, of course, World of DVC for just being generally awesome to us. So join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl. Look out, here comes